Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back. We are now in week 2 of our study looking at the beggar Bartimaeus. We saw a guy last week who was blind by birth, who encountered Jesus in a very amazing way. Here's a man that we saw who not only heard about Jesus, but believed in him enough to say, do you know what? I believe this man can heal me. I'm going to hunt this guy down. I'm going to find him. And just cried out to Jesus, said, Jesus, please have mercy on me. And we found that that faith was rewarded and Jesus healed him. Now, we started talking about, hey, we have issues in our lives. We come to Jesus all the time of these struggles that we have, hard times, difficult times. And we're kind of looking at like, hey, how do we see Jesus? How do we approach Jesus in the appropriate way? How do we navigate through the craziness of this life? And I know last week we talked about crying out to Jesus and how that's the first thing we need to do. When we're going through something, we need to cry out to him, not just find him, but go to him and say, Jesus, help me. I'm seeking you. Find him and say, Jesus, help me with this. Here are my problems. Here are my challenges. And just handing it over to Jesus and letting him take that. And it's a very important thing. Any problem you have, the way that you handle that is you go to Jesus. And I know it's a simple term, and we all talk about it. We all say this is what we should do. If you're in the Christian life, any pastor would tell you, well, you need to turn that to Jesus. You need to give that to Jesus, and that is true. However, there's a step deeper than that I want to talk about today, because we're going to see what Bartimaeus said. He did cry out to Jesus, but something happened when he did that. So in Mark chapter 10, continuing on, we're verse 46. It says, they came to Jericho, kind of recapping the whole story for you. And as he was leaving Jericho, some of Jesus and his disciples, a large crowd gathered. And Bartimaeus, a blind beggar, was sitting by the road. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. Many warned him to keep quiet, but he was crying out all the more, have mercy on me, Son of David. Now, verse 48 is really where we're going to be looking at today, because something very unique happens here with Bartimaeus. So, we talked about how he was probably a very well-known beggar for the fact that Mark specifically mentioned his name. So this is probably a guy where in his community, people knew him. They knew of him. They probably have encountered him many times. So here's a well-known guy. And what's going on is Bartimaeus starts crying out to Jesus, right? Just like we talked about last week. The first step is crying out to Jesus. How did the people react, though? That's what I want to look at. Is because it wasn't like the people were like, yeah, go to Jesus. I encourage you. Jesus, help him. No, that's not what happened. In verse 48, it says, many warned him to keep quiet. To keep quiet. Do you get that? People were telling him, Bartimaeus, hey, listen, stop. What are you doing? Like, this man probably has enough problems on his own. He probably has enough going on. And you're just this beggar. Hey, quiet. Why are you crying out to Jesus? And I know it seems kind of a silly thing sometimes. Like, why would people be telling him to stop crying out to Jesus? And we might say, well, we don't necessarily have people who tell me, hey, stop crying, stop praying to Jesus. Some of y'all might, considering especially in the world we live in. But we do encounter something of this every single day. And sometimes it can even be from those that we care about the most. You see, we're believers in Jesus Christ. I am. Hopefully you are too. If not, I would love to talk to you more about that. But when we are believers in Jesus Christ, there's a unique thing that happens. We gain a connection with God. We gain a one-on-one communication with him through prayer. And it's not I don't think I would shock you if I told you that we don't live in a Christian world. Now, in our country, yes, there's a lot of Christian values that were established. There is still definitely freedom of religion. We can still worship together. But as a society, when it comes to handling issues, handling problems, how to do life, it is not rooted in a Christian connection. There's been many times in my life where I was facing an issue when I worked in a non-Christian world, when I worked in the secular world, which means non-Christian, like when I worked at FedEx, when I worked at Old Navy. When I was there and had struggles and had frustrations, the advice I was given was not necessarily godly. It wasn't necessarily bad, but it was very much a self-focused mentality. It was, hey, what can you do to get yours? What can you do to get through this? Hey, maybe you should just confront this issue in a way that is very selfish. Confront it in a way that was very angry. Hey, don't forget that you need to come out on top. That was a common thing is, listen, focus on you, what you need to do. And sometimes when I would bring up my faith, when I bring up going to God, I was told, that's stupid. Like, what's God going to do for you? You don't need to worry about that. Don't worry about doing what God wants. Don't worry about praying, because that's worthless, right? Don't worry about reading your Bible, because who cares? Here's the thing. You just need to handle it like this. Just go out and get yours. All right? Go out and handle your business and then take care of it. And that is very similar to what Bartimaeus is facing here. Yeah, they weren't telling him to handle it himself, but they were telling him that, listen, why are you crying out to Jesus? Why are you turning to him? Why are you doing this? How is he going to help you through this? You see, Satan loves to attack us. Satan loves to come after us. We know he's out there. We know Satan's going to do everything he can to bring us down and to take us out. We see this in 2 Peter. I apologize, not 2 Peter, 1 Peter. We start in verse 6. It says, humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, so that he may exalt you at the proper time, casting all your cares on him, because he cares about you. But verse 8, be sober-minded, be alert. Your adversary, the devil, is prowling around like a roaring lion, looking for anyone that he can devour. You see, here is the truth. Satan wants to bring you down. He wants to destroy you. He wants to hurt you. He wants to hurt your faith. He wants to hurt your life. He wants to hurt your relationships. He is out to get you. Why? Because when you are a follower of Jesus Christ, you were his enemy. You were on his list, and he's going to do everything he can to take you out. And guys, as believers, when it comes to our issues, when it comes to our problems, guess what? Satan knows how to come after you. And sometimes it's through very bad advice from so-called friends. It's from worldly direction in a time where you need godly direction. You see, one of the things, the second thing that we need to do, not only do we need to cry out to Jesus, but you need to press into Jesus. Meaning you need to make sure that you stay connected, that you are pushing away what the world says. Just like Bartimaeus, when they told him to be quiet, what does it say? It says that he cried out nonetheless. He kept crying out, saying, you know what? Forget you guys. All right, I know Jesus is the one who can save me. I know Jesus is the one who can help me. And do you know what? He is the one I need right now. He's the one that I need to turn to right now. So honestly, you know what? I'm going to press into him even harder. I am going to get the advice that the world is telling me and say, do you know what? I'm going to compare it to this. And if the advice that I am getting from the world does not add up to the advice that God is telling me to have, then you know what? The heck with it. I am going to discard it. I'm going to throw it aside, and I'm going to press even harder into God and saying, God, you know what? Help me. Be with me through this. Help me to overcome this. Because you know what? The coolest thing ever is that God will. You see, because we have a promise. And the promise is that God says that he will never leave us or abandon us. Doesn't mean we're not going to struggle. But what he's saying is that, listen, you will never be alone through any of this. You might feel alone sometimes. You might think you're alone. But on a spiritual level, you are never alone. God is always there for you. And guys, I get that feeling. I get the feeling of feeling alone because I've been there. I know growing up, I had a lot of struggles in life. I did not come from the typical nuclear family. I definitely had people who cared about me and loved me. But there were many times where when dealing with the struggles of my childhood, seeing the issues that my family was facing, there were many times I felt alone. There was many times I felt abandoned by God, even when I was a believer, thinking, God, where are you? Where are you in this? I know that your word says that you love me. I know that your word says that you care about me, but I don't see you. I don't hear you. I don't feel you. And that is a horrible feeling. It's a scary feeling. It's a hopeless feeling. To feel alone. To feel like there's nothing there and there's no one there. And for the longest time, I would struggle with that. Until I learned that, you know what? God is there. He's always been there. And the problem wasn't that Jesus wasn't close enough. It was I didn't know how to see him. I didn't know how to find him. Because Satan was doing a terrific job of confusing me. He was doing a terrific job of drawing my attention away from God, from the truth, and drawing it to lies that I was conceiving on my own. Because see, that's the thing with Satan. Is he's very intelligent, guys. See, I don't think we give Satan enough credit. Sometimes we think of Satan as just this dumb, evil, just maniacal guy who is just, he's going to try to get us to sin. And that's true. He is trying to get us to sin, and he is evil. But we got to understand that he knows what he's doing. He knows how to do it. He knows where your weakness is. He knows how he can infiltrate into your life, and he knows how to bring you down. And not only does he know, I can guarantee you he's going to do it. And he is going to use friends, he's going to use family, he's going to even use church sometimes to try to distract you, to try to pull you away from the truth of God. And we're going to go through those times. And you might be going through that time right now saying, I am struggling right now. I am going through a difficult time and I feel abandoned. I feel like God's not there. I feel like he's just giving me up, that he doesn't necessarily care about me, or he doesn't care about the problem I'm going through. And guys, that's the farthest thing from the truth, because God loves you and cares about you deeply. We see that truth in the scriptures. Guys, I have felt and seen that truth in my life. I have seen time and time again where God has shown up, and he has helped me, and he has walked me through difficulties and challenges. And guys, that's why right now I am trying to just implore you. Big word there, big word of the day, implore. But I'm trying to implore you to see that Jesus is there. Right now in your life where you're feeling hopeless, and you're feeling scared, and you're feeling like there's no way I'm going to get through this, Jesus is there. And you just need to open your eyes and see that. Because you have an enemy right now who's trying to do everything he can for you not to see that. He wants you to feel alone. He wants you to feel scared. He wants you to feel like the only person that can help you through this is yourself. And the only person that can get you out of this is yourself. But we know that when left to our own, we're going to fail every time. Everything we touch falls apart. That is just a reality of life. We might find some successes, but ultimately, guys, without Jesus, we can't do it. We can't make it. Even though we might find worldly success spiritually, emotionally, there is still failure there. There are moments where you will succeed at everything and still feel hopeless and still feel worthless. Why? Because that feeling can only be filled by Jesus Christ. That feeling and sense of belonging, that feeling of fulfilledness, I challenge you to try to find it somewhere else. You're not going to. So when you're going through these challenges, when life gets hard, when life gets overwhelming, guys, first of all, cry out to Jesus. He will hear you. He will be there. But secondly, guys, when the world starts pressing in on you, when the world starts telling you to be quiet, when the world starts trying to give you advice that is against what Jesus teaches, guys, press into Jesus. Lean into him and say, do you know what? I don't care what you're telling me. I don't care the advice that you are giving me. I am going to follow after Jesus, and I am going to push into Jesus. And I promise you, you will not regret that. And that he will be there, and that he will show up each and every time. So have encouragement. Have hope. And guys, don't ever turn away from God. Because he loves you and cares about you in a way that you can never fully understand. Because it's that powerful, it's that intense. All right, well, I love you guys, and I will see you next week.